Okay, finally live here. Hope the VV fam is doing well. Hope you all doing good and enjoying this bear market. I know we've got a lot of people that were talking to me today. Like, what should I do? Should I be buying more scarce items, more grails, or should I kind of hold off a little bit and wait for the next boom cycle, maybe in the next few years? So we kind of wanted to talk to everybody, not only give you my insight and my thoughts, but also pick your brains as well. One thing I'll just say from Pokemon, and I know I've mentioned this quite a few times, but I think it's important, is that when Pokemon was at an all-time low, when we only had, let's just say, I don't know, like the lowest interest, and that was in 2006, there was a lot more scarce print runs that were done. And some of those cards now are like the most valuable of all time, right? So, I mean, we already see this with, Miles Morales and Spider-Man, the first appearance of Spider-Man. We had a drop of 60,000 editions, was only 1,000 of the secret rare, which went to 100K. And now we have Miles Morales, the ultra rare, with only 100 or 1,000 editions that barely made it past $300. And so it's just really interesting to kind of see this dynamic play out already. So I think it's just important for people to kind of keep this in their minds, because even like partner, everyone's like, oh, let's sell it off for 3.2 because there's 4,333 editions. But just remember, guys, like Miles Morales SR, only 160 available to the public. That's exceptionally scarce, right? So again, we're in a rough patch right now. I still believe that NFTs are a huge winner long term and everything like that. So I really don't have an issue with it. If anything, I just kind of see this as being smart with your money, not over investing, not pulling in, not making crazy decisions. Like a lot of people I know went and bought gems because they saw the UR Miles Morales going over 500, then 700, and people bought in at like 800, right? And now it's down to 300, and then it turns you off. You're pissed off about it. So just be smart with your money. But yeah, what's up, everybody? Hope you can all hear me okay. I was having a little issues with my computer earlier, but it's good to see everybody. Let's see who's in the chat already. So Planet Vampire, thanks for coming on, man. We got Mads Christian Brill Olsen. He says, I would love to see the community build more value in the bear market. It takes a while for companies like Marvel and Disney to adapt to this new world, but with a community like VV, we can do it. Looking forward to the stream. Thanks for being here, my man. And we got Palace Zachary in the house. What's up, Chad? What's up, man? And Austin, what's up, fam? Good to see everybody. Yeah, 100%, right? And I think this is what it's all about. The people that are very convicted are, currently in the in the market now, and the people that believe in VV the most are still sticking around. So I think you're kind of seeing who the true I guess pioneers are, and the people that really see the future of this space, and I'm definitely one of them. I think just seeing like Miles Morales in augmented reality the other day. I don't know if anybody's seen my tweet on that's I pinned it to my profile, but yeah, like Miles Morales in augmented reality looks insane. He's like breathing. He's like slowly kind of doing this like kind of slow breath. He looks like a total athlete. I blew him up into AR and I put him at his exact height, just a little bit shorter than me, just to see what the actual experience would be. And it's crazy. Even my wife was like blown away by that level of detail, right? So yeah, Matt says, what up, Chad? What's up, buddy? Anything specific you're eyeballing the market right now? Those uncommon FA Spideys under 100 is crazy. Yeah, 100%. Another big thing too that's really cool about those FA Spideys, it kind of reminds me of like the first booster box for Pokemon. It's like they had a lot of prints, right, for the first or 3-4 booster boxes, and like Charizard as an example, there were so many made of him. And then we have like a Gold Star Charizard, which came out in 2006, which kind of reminds me of like Miles Morales Spider-Man, just on a shortened time scale. And that never still reached the same heights as that first Charizard at a PSA 10. I mean, I think for the Gold Star it was like 25,000 to 40,000 for PSA 10, and for the PSA 10 Charizard at its all-time high was like 300 and something thousand. So I think it's like kind of like that's how, even though FA Spider-Man SR has again like so much more mints, like over 700 more mints than the Miles Morales SR, I think it's just still important to understand that distinction, and that like that is still the first Marvel NFT. It's the very first appearance of any type of Spider-Man. Spider-Man's the most popular superhero in 58 countries across the world. So there's like a lot still behind that FA Spider-Man. And I know it's definitely disheartening for people that have been holding that and they're like, damn man, now we got this SR Miles here for 3K. Should I just grab 3 of those and trade in my Spidey? I mean, these are questions that are super difficult, right? Matt Johnson, what's up, dude? Anything specific you're eyeballing in this market right now? Those uncommon FA Spideys under 100 is crazy. Yeah, man. Honestly, there's so many deals right now. Like it's all pretty crazy. Just to see where we were and where we're at. It's like one of those things too, where you kind of see the same community members are just like, moving over to the next thing and the next thing. And a lot of these older items are now starting to recede even more in value, just so gradually. So it's a little bit scary because you're like, okay, does this keep going? And if you think about it, guys, like a lot of people are predicting for pretty major recession, and we're already kind of hitting that now. But like next year, major recession, potentially even a depression, which hasn't happened in a very long time. So Veve NFTs would be the last thing people are thinking about. They're going to be thinking about how do I feed my family, things like that, right? So just keep that in mind. I'm not saying that this stuff isn't important. It's just like the timing is key as well. So just be mindful of that. Matt Johnson says, what's your opinion on Miles Morales long-term, rare or UR? Seems like people like the rare. Yeah, I think like the rare, what is this, 1750 compared to 1,000? Yeah, it looks cool. It's that iconic Miles Morales. It's more cartoony. It's more in line with like the story. I'd say I got a few of my Miles Morales comics representing here in the back, just some cheap ones, but just thought I'd bring it up for fun. Yeah, so I think like the UR still looks good. The only problem is that it's not animated and it doesn't look as clean as the SR. I kind of went into detail on it. And yeah, I don't know where the demand's going to be. The thing is, like, we may actually see Miles Morales coming, into a big movie in the future of the MCU. And I really think just because also Miles Morales is black and there's a lot of like, momentum with like equity, diversity, and inclusion and having more representation within superheroes. And I know like Marvel, DC, all of them are pushing forward in their comic books. So I really think that like Miles is going to be a fucking huge character. Like I think it will be like kind of the next generation Spider-Man, so to speak. And with only 3,000 editions, man, like when you look at SR, only 160 editions, imagine walking around with one of 160 Miles Morales in the VIVl verse. Like it's instant clout, right? And that's the thing that we got to start thinking about too, is like, how do you get clout? How do you get social capital? And I really think that like that's a key one. So even though like you're saying, oh, it's 3.5K right now, like I don't know, for me, that's just one I would hold on to for the long run. I mean, if there's anything that's going to do well, like put it this way, if that NFT doesn't do well with only 160 editions available to the public, then nothing's going to do well, man. Okay, so I'm going to go through some of these comments here. So yeah, I just answered Matt's comment. Mad Christian Bale, what's your take on this? I think that VIVl should put less focus on the VIVl verse and rather focus on the simpler things to flex and show off the comics and collectibles. I agree. I think VIVl should just really focus on the IP, the store aspect, and I think like whenever possible, start to make more partnerships and make more integrations with other like metaverse companies and things like that, where we can have more interoperability, but not like put this all on the onus of themselves. I do have a gut feeling that like Disney's metaverse will somehow come some kind of connection with VIVl's NFTs. Just because I feel like it would be kind of almost idiotic for Disney to like sell this stuff in a different place and be like, oh, we're doing our own stuff over here now and come join us here when they've already built a community, a strong community over on VIVl. So I really think that we're going to see that transition soon, like maybe within the next 3 years, I'd say. And Disney's not going to start like going crazy when we're in this down market. So I think like it's, we're just in kind of a holding pattern, but I don't know, man. Like for me, some of these NFTs that I'm seeing, some of these deals, I'm like, I believe in this space. I believe in it. Like I really do. I don't see it going away. I just think that we're in really like these world factors play a way more crucial part than anybody's ever anticipated. And like I just remember even when like Bitcoin was high and Ethereum was high, that's when all of a sudden VV NFTs like it kind of transitioned. It was like when Bitcoin was good, Ethereum was good, people were like, okay, let me invest into other altcoins. And then when those other altcoins were pumping, then it was like NFTs were kind of the last thing that they would be looking at. So and it's such a new space that people still don't understand anything really about NFTs. They don't understand blockchain. They don't understand where augmented reality is going, virtual reality is going. They don't even get the concept that one day you'll be walking in the metaverse with an avatar and going to your Louis Vuitton store and picking something up for your virtual avatar, right? And why wouldn't companies want to do this? It's so inexpensive. It's such a money grab, and there's so much social clout. And I've always said this, instead of driving your Lamborghini, you're going to be rocking your avatar, and people are going to be, that's going to be the future way that you're going to flex. And when you have limited scarce items with like the golden rule in collecting, guys, is popularity and scarcity mixed together, right? So when you have like Miles Morales and you have 160 editions, that's very popular, and that's very low amount of edition size. And so like together, that's sort of like, you know, it has it, and then on top of that, it has historical significance. Even though the comic came out before it, it's still the FA of the collectible. So there's just so much positives there. And I know I'm just like harping on that right now, but I just want people to know, like, because you're like kind of worried right now, oh my god, it's not worth that much, or maybe the whales aren't buying into it too, because why would they, right? Why, let's just like keep waiting for it to drop even more when they're in the high two range, and then I'll just pick up 10 of them. So anyways, I'm reading the rest here. So I spent a lot of time on Zoom, on Zoom Teams, but where are the beautiful office settings with a small statue NFT from Veve? Could be cool with an office setting for Vaultaholics to create something. Yeah, man. Yeah, like I totally agree with that. Like this is my thing in the future. Like you're gonna go and meet your CEO. Let's just say you work for a finance company downtown. You're gonna go to your CEO's office. He's gonna have like these different like virtual holograms projecting with like these really rare, expensive digital assets in the background that will be way more incredible and more animated and have more features than just these stationary objects behind me. Like imagine all this stuff was moving right now. Imagine my like TIE fighter was going through the air, right? Like things like that. And then if you're wearing like augmented reality glasses with LiDAR technology and you walk into this space, then you're going to see way more than just like these stationary objects. So I think it's like, and then on top of that, you know, if you were to try to break something, it's impossible because they're located in a different location. It's a secure wallet. And then you're also doing the best of both worlds. You're getting that physical clout when somebody walks into your office. And then when you pop into the metaverse, you're also getting that digital clout too. So it just, I don't know. I have a feeling that long term, we're actually going to see a lot less of the physical collectibles be important. Because I just think there's going to be so many more eyes in the digital realm. Okay, so if we're still running through the comments, yeah, stamps are creative. Totally agree. I hope you guys did pretty good on that drop. Justin, is Miles a recycled Peter Parker to some? I think so. I don't think enough people know about Miles Morales. I think they saw it as like Spider-Man 2099. They're just like, yo, this looks cool, but is it a big deal? Probably don't know, like didn't do their research, don't understand that it's going to be a massive character in the future MCU. So that's kind of my take on it. But I agree. I think a lot of people just didn't really understand the significance. Justin, my button moved because I had the drop down description open. Oh, that sucks, dude. Yeah. Yeah. I was so fast in the Miles Morales drop. I literally hit that like faster than I've ever had anything else. And it just said sold out. So I had to go buy that SR, man, right after. Mads Christian Barrett. Man, I'm saying your name wrong. I apologize. Mads Christian Brill Olsen. There we go. It will still be a while before metaverses get mainstream, but as you say, social capital runs the world. So how do we quickly get more opportunities for that? Yeah. So this is my whole thing. Like a lot of people have debated me on this. They're like, okay, when the FA Spider-Man dropped, right? A lot of people collected the commons for like $25 a piece, right? So they're going to get the commons and so a lot of people stacked up on like 60 common FAs and then sold them all at the hype when they were like $800. And on top of that, they're a lot more liquid, a lot easier to sell, stuff like that, right? But at the same time, like I bought a Spider-Man at the time for like 17,000, and then I watched it go up to 100,000. But just that one move of me buying that Spider-Man, I think got something like, I don't know, like 30,000 likes or 30,000 views, sorry, on Twitter. And I was like, man, we're still in the infancy here. Like, imagine if that was, Veve was a lot bigger and I'm buying something for 100,000 and that gets like 500,000 likes and all these followers. Like, people forget how much social capital can build. Like, I'll give you an example, and I don't really tell a lot of people this, but when I was doing those interviews in January and February and I was getting like 25,000 views, 30,000 views, I was making like $2,000 a month just in ad revenue on YouTube, right? And I'm not saying that's a lot of money. It's not. But imagine if I had another 50,000 subs, that might be like 10,000 in ad revenue a month. And that's significant. Like that would pay some of my I would pay my mortgage. I'd pay like most of my expenses for the month, right? So it's like that's where people forget like what social capital can do, and like just doing something like flexing like that, like Dr. Profit, that's what people go for, man. It's really an important piece. So anyways, for that, I would look at some of these things that are scarce, because as much as we always talked about how scarcity can be outdone, we're also seeing now how like in the VV verse, if you have something like, if you have a thing that's like really, really popular, like 60,000 Spider-Mans, right? And they're all walking around everywhere, then it's not really going to be that cool to see. But if you see one of only 160 Miles Morales, only one of 110 Donnies, again, I'm using a publicly available edition sizes, or only 140 something golden Mooglies, this is where we may see a retrace into like having these more cloud scarce kind of items. But again, I mean, I could be totally wrong. And I just, and top of that, like and on the same token, like we have like Walt as an example, where it's like the first appearance of Walt and Mickey on the blockchain, like the things like that, even though there's a higher amount, 4,333, it's still exceptionally scarce when you think about the significance of that IP. So anyways, oh shit, we got Sleeping Comics in the house. What is up, man? He says, let's fucking go. Great to see you live. We were hoping to do something soon. We may be shooting tonight. So Sleeping, man, I'm excited to pick your brain and just, start chatting with you, dude. You're one of my favorite YouTubers, and, so incredibly intelligent. And I think we got a similar style, how we approach everything. So yeah, man, excited to pick your brain. Few people saying, what's up? Choo Choo says, yo, Chad, congrats on the SR Miles. Thank you. Sleeping got one too. I think he got, and Team Mob says 1 SR Miles or 10 to 12 rares. Man, like if you, this is the whole debate. If you want that social capital, if you got a big Twitter following, or if you want to gain followers, maybe that Miles is for you. If you want to do something where you have more liquidity and you're probably going to make a little bit more money and it's going to be easier to sell, then maybe you stack up on those rares, right? That's kind of like how I see it. But again, it's just such a good feeling to know that you have that one NFT that like could be a killer long term. Because like the thing is, if we ever get into that bull market again, that SR Morales might go to like 10K, and then 15, and then 25, and then all of a sudden before you know it, it's like 35,000, and then you like show that as your PFP picture, or you get into an exclusive club, and in that club is like all the major YouTubers, or David and Dan, or Dr. Profit, and then that starts a social connection. So these are the things that like you have to start considering. There's a lot of like things that are qualitative in nature that you actually can't quantify or like even predict, and sometimes those qualitative things can do so much more for you. As an example, like you might buy a brand new Audi, which on paper is a stupid thing to do because it's a depreciating asset. But at the same time, you feel so good getting into that Audi every morning, gives you more life. You want to progress your career more. Your boss sees you in the Audi. They think you're, super cool, and it's a clean car. And then all of a sudden you get more business opportunities, and then whatever, right? So there's no perfect way to analyze something. It's going to be different for everyone in terms of what works for you. For me, I like the cool scare shit because I just want to have that social capital, and I think I do better with the community for that too. So yeah, that's kind of my take. What's up, VV fam? Some nice detail on this Labyrinth drop. Yeah, man, Labyrinth, like look at the IP VV's bringing out. Like it's just insane, right? Like at the end of the day, there's not going to be something that they don't have. And this is really where you're gonna have to start specializing soon. You're gonna have to go either into the the Spidey verse, or the Star Wars verse, or the fantasy verse. Like there's just going to be so much, and eventually we'll have the Pokeverse. Like I don't know, there's a lot on the way. Wap Mamis says a lot of people didn't land the Miles Morales drop because their timer wasn't synced. Only one way to verify they're synced. Yeah. Well, and 3,000 editions, like as an example, just here, my wife, me, my brothers, my mom, my dad, all my friends, like at least 60, 70 people that I know in Canada, like that are friends that actually chat about this. I think only like 5 landed, right? So it's really low. Like my Carson landed because I don't know, he's so lucky like that. But yeah, it's like one of those things where a lot of people just quickly flip them, other than if you had the SR. But it's also cool to think that if you do land, you automatically make money. Like if you landed that, you would have minimum made 5x your money. if you got the rare, you would have made like 10x and even 15x if you got the UR, and then you would have like literally walked away with a free vacation if you fucking grabbed the SR miles. Like, think about how crazy that is for VV. Like, if you just land SR miles, like, dude, you're like, if you didn't give a crap about VV, you could sell that for 5,000 US. In Canada, that's like $6,500, and you're off to like Sandals, Barbados for a week. You know what I mean? Like, that's crazy. So yeah, I don't know. It's just funny when people like VV's dead. I'm like, it's not really. Like, there's still so much opportunity, right? Okay, so somebody says, do you think it's possible to go back to all-time high in January like we did this year? So I think that there will be items that can get to crazy heights. I think that for a lot of the items that you've seen go to all-time high, it won't happen again, in my opinion. I think that there will be some that could get back or even go further, but I think that because we had a much less saturation and much fewer NFTs, what happens is that you had a really high volume of people concentrating on fewer NFTs. And then we had the whole exploit in gems. And then on top of that, we had the whole currency where people were buying gems for like half, if not 1/3 of the price, right? So like all these things like artificially inflated everything. And then on top of that, you didn't have a cash out. So, I mean, you think about it, if you're making $50,000 on something, like, it's probably a pretty good feeling to cash that out if you're an average Joe like me. So that's kind of what I'm trying to say here too, is like, I'm not saying that it can't happen if we get more eyes, if there's more interoperability. The way that I could see it happening is like if we legitimately get interoperability and you're walking around with, you know, your wallet, or you're doing something interoperable and, you know, you have your own keys, then I could see these things going to crazy, crazy heights. But I think realistically, in another bull, you'll start seeing probably some tops on things. And that's why I've always from the beginning tried to identify grails, because I've always told you guys about my Pokemon collecting in the past. I would collect everything. And then I realized, shit, if I only stacked Charizards, like, I would have been a millionaire. And then that's why now I'm just looking at the grails. And I know we got the MCP program on the way, and I'm sure that will help even out things. But at the same time, we're already getting so much of the friggin' best IP without the MCP. So I'm kind of like, even if the MCP is like, oh, you're going to get an Aragon from Lord of the Rings or whatever, Harry Potter, I'm like, that's fine. Like, if I don't get it, I've got my choice of Walt, Spider-Man, Batman, Superman, like all this shit, right? So I think, I don't know, for me, it's interesting, man. So yeah, I don't think Miles is that popular yet. My 9-year-old twin boys and their friends, nephews, and some 17-year-olds think Peter is still their Spidey, and they loved Into the Spider-Verse. I don't know. Yeah, well, I appreciate that comment there, Palm. Like, maybe he's not that popular yet. I think he's also like a really intended for a teen audience as well. And I think like Sleepin', probably knows more about this than me, but I think like from what I'm hearing from all the comic book experts and from a lot of my YouTube friends here is that Miles is going to be a massive character, and he's coming. And I think like a lot of people also look at the comic book, the first appearance of Miles Morales in the comic book, and what they think is like, oh, well, it's only like a $1,300 comic book at a 9.8 grade. But what they don't understand is the volume of comics that were printed and the amount of Miles Morales comics that are in that good of a condition, and also that it's a really recent comic. So if there was only, let's say, 50 at a 9.8 grade, you might be seeing some prices that are in the $500,000 range. Like, I mean, that's a total estimation here. This is not fact by any means, but I think like from what I'm hearing from most people is that Miles Morales is bigger than what they think. Oh yeah, and Justin says, what about the Stormtroopers? Yeah, I saw that on Wax, and they're like all PFPs. Yeah, so I mean, that's interesting. I guess that's if it comes out before VV drops a Stormtrooper, then maybe that's a FA Stormtrooper. So I mean, yeah, interesting, but I don't really like Wax. I don't like their CEO. He's a bit of a dick to Vivi. I don't know if you've seen any of his videos on Paul Barron Network and things like that. He tries to throw Vivi under the bus whenever he can. I think he's jealous of their success, so I would be too. So yeah, let's see what Sleepin' says here. So he goes, years ago, I bought 4 UF4 9.8 comics for $250 to $350. I knew he was going to be big. So many people don't quite know he's different. Damn, Sleepin', look at you go. So like, think about that investment you made right there. You made probably, what, if you sold it all now, $4 to $5 grand off of $250 investment. Pretty amazing, man. Good for you. It's a sick character. I think I'm gonna, now that I've got that SR, I think I'm gonna get the comic as well in a 9.8 just to have in the background. And I'm really bullish on it as well. I don't know, something about it really feels special. And I don't know, maybe Jaden Smith, we're gonna star in a movie in the future or something like that, and really kind of blow things out of the water. So we'll see what happens. Justin says instead of an Audi, Randy will be hopping out of his 2 cyber trucks with his low keys. Yeah, exactly, Justin. That's right, man. Austin, when do you think the transfer function will come back? My girl and I both have accounts, but I'd like to all the collectibles in the same spot. So Austin, I have like 3 or 4 accounts as well, dude. I've got like, and then everything's everywhere. And my one account that I use more like publicly, I just have a few things in just because, I like to keep things more quiet. And that way, like if I'm, making a move or if I'm like selling something at a loss, nobody's going to question me and be like, oh, what the heck were you doing? Like for me, it's just so much easier just to kind of have free reign in the market. So that's why I've always kind of kept my stuff on the down low, because there's been times where, I've made bad moves, but other times where I made good moves where I sold something at a loss and then went and invested in something that was low and then it took off, So I think that's the reason why, for that. But in terms of transfers, I think it'll still be a little bit of time, man. I think VIVl right now is trying to slow them down just because I think they saw that there was a lot of people that would, transfer a collectible and then they'd be sent like crypto, through their wallet or whatever. And what happens there is that it wouldn't be regulated. So VIVl could technically be held for like something like money laundering as an example. And so I think that's why they're trying to diminish that currently. So I'm not sure if it will come back. I mean, it likely will have like a period of time where they'll say you can only have one account going forward. So please put in all your NFTs into one account. And then there'll probably be like transfers will be for gems or like transferring one item for another on VIVl app itself. I don't think you can just like transfer things just individually. And that's just my take on it. I could be wrong, but I think that's kind of what happened or what could happen. So anyways, I could be wrong though. Okay, sorry, I'm reading all this stuff. So yeah, Steam Comics says UF4 or 9.8 are down now. You can get one for 3K. Okay, thanks, man. I appreciate that. Awesome. Okay, what's your top 5 Grail comics and collectibles and top 5 top common comics and common collectibles? Thanks for your content. That's a big question, bro. I feel like I can run through a few, but I mean that's a lot on the here. I'll just start with collectibles. So I definitely put Walt in there. I don't know if I would throw SR Miles in right now. I think right now it's currently maybe a top 5, but like long term, you got to think about all the other major IP that might come out that's more scarce. But I think it was like Walt, just because first appearance of Mickey. Mickey is the second most popular character in the world. FA Superman is really good too. The only thing is it's a high edition count. I probably put You Are Darth Vader in there. I'd probably put Todd as long as that he can remain the FA. But I know there's been also some discrepancy. I was talking to VV Fox about that the Go Train data still isn't embedded. So I'm still kind of waiting to see what that looks like as well. It's a little bit concerning for me. I think Pride might have his day again. I know it's kind of taken off a little bit, but it could have another day. I have to go through it. Obviously, SR Spider-Man for sure. I put that up there. Yeah, there's a lot I'd put up there, man. And then comics, I got to go between AF-15. I definitely put that as probably the one that if anything's going to make it, that'd probably be the one that I think would be sell for the most amount of money, just given its in real life physical value for the highest grade, which sells for over like 3 mil. And then I just think that it makes a lot of sense. And I still want to pick Sleepin's comics on the whole Fast Meal reprint thing, because if it is just like a reprint and people don't see truly as the first appearance on the blockchain, then that's a little concerning. The only thing that would have made AF-15 so incredibly awesome is that if it was actually the first Marvel NFT as well, because then you'd have the in real life comparison, and you'd have the first Spider-Man on the blockchain in any medium, and you'd have the first Marvel NFT. I think that thing would be insane, especially with the amount of additions. Then I'd probably put Fantastic Four number 1 in there. And a few others. I'd probably, I mean, if you look at comics and crypto or even Sleepin's list, they have this all stuff rated in like S tier and stuff. So I would definitely recommend checking that out too. And I know there's also Amazing Spider-Man 252, which only had 1,000 editions, and you had the Secret Rare, which only had 38 editions. So who knows? That shit could be like the number 1 comic, just given pure scarcity. and flexing. I mean, think about that, 38. And a lot of times comics, the reason they're so valuable is because of the scarcity as well. So yeah, that's kind of a little bit there for you. My son is 2 and loves Miles from the Spidey and Friends Disney show. I showed him the SR and AR and he went crazy. Yes, T-Mob. I'm glad that you got one. And yeah, it's so sick. The breathing is crazy to me. Let me pull this up on my phone because I was just like, man, I put this in AR and I was like, are you kidding me? Like, look at that. Here, it's kind of glary, but yeah. Like, it just looks insane. Even like the little like different color contrast on the hand. Like, I thought this guy was in my room, you know what I mean? Like, he was looking at me and he's breathing and I'm like, damn. And I put him in at about like 5'5", 5'6", just to see what it would actually maybe look like. But it was just crazy. You see the breathing that he's doing? He's just slowly breathing. It's crazy. And to think that we're just in the like preliminary stages of AR and what that means, man. So yeah. Zay Joker, also the Miles Morales game on PS5 was a huge success, released 2 years ago. People did enjoy the young Spider-Man they portrayed the movie game. Yeah, see, there we go, man. That's good to know as well. Okay, cool. So I'm keeping going. Mew 2. What about stacking Coca-Cola and getting dividends from the company for advertising them with the NFTs? It's maybe far down the line, but would be a cool use case like renting. Okay, let me reread this here. What about stacking Coca-Cola and getting dividends from the company for advertising them? Yeah. Okay, so I get what you're saying. Like, I mean, I think that that's definitely possible for sure. I think like there's so much opportunities like renting, burning that we talked about, and I think there might also be like different influencers, YouTubers, or celebrities that will probably be paid from these organizations or companies to probably advertise different products without shilling it, so to speak, or maybe be like, Coca-Cola sponsored as an example. And then if you have a huge collection, then maybe, you'd get some kind of discount again to Coca-Cola brands or, different companies within the Coca-Cola franchise. So yeah, there's a lot of different opportunities there. I think that's a pretty cool idea. NFT Clock, yo, bro, always great to listen and grab some knowledge. Cheers. Thanks for joining, brother. Appreciate that. Jesse's in the house. What's up, Jesse Knox? Yo, investments, you say? MC1 as of now. They have enough to be liquid. They are more than a 10x back to all-time high. And even though there are 8x more of them versus AF15, they're 6 times less the money. There you go. And when we talk about investments, we have to include liquidity till VV gets the usership way up. So having a 20K item is great, but right now you have to consider to find a buyer. Yeah, exactly. Like if you want to hold this stuff and you have that kind of money to burn and just hold on to it, then good for you. But if you're looking to kind of flip and the thing is, man, I used to flip and be so good at it. And now it's so difficult, right? It's just not like what it used to be. Like before I'd be able to pick something and be like, yeah, that's going to fly, get into it early, let it pop. And now it's like, okay, now I'm just actually sitting back a lot of the time, hoping I do all right on a drop. So it's a lot slower, the momentum I have. Even like low mint hunting, man, I used to be able to low mint flip all the time. Be like, oh yeah, that works. And now it's like I'll buy a low mint and I sometimes get stuck with it. I'm like, shit. Cool, man. Digital phase finance. I don't understand Pride. Why is Pride 1 Givenchy and 2 isn't? Should I be worried about buying Pride 1 that they'll just change the tag? So the whole thing with Pride back in the day that made it so interesting was it was kind of like one of the first fashion brands to ever be released in NFT format. I know like Nike and stuff came out as well, similar time or a little bit after, but like for Givenchy, we always thought that like because Vivi had Givenchy or it was that kind of partnership that we'd also have the entire brand behind it, like Louis Vuitton and Dior and all this other stuff that would come, which is like over a $360 billion industry, which is technically bigger than Disney. So fashion is a lot bigger than people think. And that was kind of our take on it was, and then on top of that, it represented like inclusivity and the whole thing with, LBGQ2, I forget the whole thing, plus IA or something. I apologize if anybody is, in that movement, but it's just a lot to remember. But yeah, it's pretty much just representing, all that stuff, right? And the progression of this world. So I think it was like important for a lot of people that were into it. And we just thought, oh my God, this is the first Givenchy thing. What if Kim Kardashian gets in here? What if one of these people buy it? So I think that was kind of the interest at the time. Okay, Kurt. Hey, Chad. What's up, bro? What are these two Spidey comics you have behind you? The covers look sick. Oh, thanks, bro. Yeah, these are honestly, man, these are real cheap. Just Miles Morales comics. They're just for my own reading. Um, so these are like $5 to $10 comics, man. I think like they're just a lot of fun to read. So, I would just go to. Sometimes I just go to my local comic book shop here. It's like a 5 minute drive, and I just pick up like like reading for the week. Just to like and I just happen to have a few of them lying around. So I thought I'd throw them up. But you see that Spider-Man right here? My brother actually drew that for me. Carson drew that for me. So yeah, I got it signed and all that stuff. He's a pretty badass tattoo artist now for superheroes and like nature and stuff like that. Do you think R2 and C3 are grails? Yeah, man. I mean, I don't know if I would put them as like a tier one grail, but I definitely think like if put it this way, so whoever has the 1977 like matching set of R2 and C3 are definitely going to do well like long term. Like I could see that being like $100,000 set, like legitimately, like like I'm not trying to say it could get I'm not going to be crazy with you guys, be like, oh, that's a 450 $1,000 set. I think it gets over like 100,000, maybe 120, and somebody there would definitely buy it for that. I think it's pretty significant. It's the first ever Star Wars NFTs in the world. It's the one of the best duos in the world. R2D2 and C3PO are top 10 Star Wars characters. And the only problem with them is it's just pretty high like mint count relative to other VV assets. And like just like what I always talked about is like now other NFT platforms like the Stormtrooper on Wax are coming out. Somebody else will likely release their C3PO and R2. But again, I think what would really help propel the prices on VV as well is if there was a if there was like a actual like company that came out and started verifying like things that were first on the blockchain or had major significance, and they like did a whole assessment of all the things, and then that was used as like a reliable resources for like investors, like NFT investors and investors in general, then they can actually like distinguish like which stuff would be the best to buy, right? Jesse Knox says 600 plus users with a 5-figure value item are not going to find it easy to unload. When usership goes 10x, that changes, of course. Totally agree, brother. Yeah. Yeah, Len. Yeah, breathing as well. Didn't know it's pretty sick, right? K Harris, I actually listed my Marvel 1 secret rare, hoping to sell it and buy 2 Miles Morales secret rares. What do you think? Oh man, that's tough, right? So here's the thing about like the stuff that boomed. Because that comic that you have, congrats on that, having that comic. It went to like 117,000 all-time high. That was like the floor. So I don't know if anybody bought it, but we actually have proof. There's a guy on Twitter that said he bought a Spider-Man SR for 100K. So think about that, right? So people were actually buying this stuff at that height. So what I think about that is that you have a lot of people that bought it for like 30,000, 22,000, 40,000, and they don't want to sell it, at a loss. But again, if it was me, just given that it's the first Marvel comic and actually might be even the first licensed comic from Marvel, or it's the first licensed comic as well. It's still 600 editions, pretty damn scarce. I would probably keep it, man, personally. Miles Morales, like I would like, maybe shoot for a Miles Morales, but I just think like on the grand scheme of things, in terms of like safety as well, because these collectibles, there's no in real life value that like exceeds $6,000 for a physical collectible. That's the other thing where it's like, unless these do become avatars, they just play it safe is what I'm trying to say. Cause these could always actually just be a collectible app. We may not get to the things that we think are possible. So just in terms of like, you wanted to play it safe, again, never financial advice, but I would, if it was me, I'd probably hold on to into my Marvel 1 secret rare, brother. SR Spidey is a great pickup at these prices. Consider buying a third. Damn, man. Good for you. DW. Almost 3 SR Spideys. Damn. G Money says, really, bruh? Sorry, man. I don't know what I said. Mr. Charlie says, a lot to remember, laugh out loud. How are you feeling about VV's capability to deliver? There's the stigma that they always deliver, but come on, even I'm getting frustrated. For sure, bro. I mean, I feel like I'm just kicking a can down the street sometimes. Everyone's frustrated. I'm frustrated, like and the issue is too is, they've been talking about MCP, they've been talking about all these things. They did deliver on IMX, they did deliver on the cash out. But I hear you. It's difficult because we're all, wanting the needle to move forward. We all kind of want to kind of get into that next level now. We want to be in the VV-verse. And I remember just like things they say with timelines. I remember like Dan Crothers at the time when he was on this, the Woman of VV. This was like, I don't know, a year ago. He said, look, we're going to have our first iteration of the VV-verse and in 6 months or something. And I was like, holy shit, that seems soon, you know? And so I think like their timelines, they should just stop giving out these crazy timelines. Like if it was me, I would have like, here's the actual timelines for the things that we 100% are going to deliver on, and then VV-verse and that's out there. We actually don't have a timeline that to be announced, but we are working on it. It is in the plans, kind of thing. That's so then at least we know where we stand, and we can start making like financial investments based off of like these current predictions that will come to fruition, rather than being like, oh, this all might come, you know. And I always revert back to like December when everyone thought the cash out was happening. Then a lot of people sold off like really expensive items for like, you know, a discount, because I thought like, okay, once the cash flow comes in, everything's going to start to go down. And the inverse happened. The cash out never came in and items continue to go up. But based, if you're an investor, like they actually made the right decision based off of what VV said. So I think it's frustrating for sure. Aaron says, I'm very happy just buying a little bit every week. Exactly, man. That's where I am too. Like, I'm not trying to break the bank. Like, you're seeing the trend. Like, everything's just been slowly receding in value. So, again, like, if there's something that you want to hold for the long term, like, you may see it go down even more. But the way I look at it as well is that if we do have another boom, like, it could be peanuts. Perfect story for this is like, this is hilarious. You guys are going to love this fucking story. So I bought my mom a Givenchy Pride when it first came out in the secondary. I got one on the drop for like $90, right? Think about how crazy that is. And then I got my mom one in the secondary and I paid 270 for it, 270 gems. And I remember at the time I was like, oh, and then after I paid 270 gems, it went down to 205 gems. And I was thinking to myself, shit, I just lost 65 gems. Like, that sucks, right? So I sent it to my mom and I said, Mom, never sell this. This is going to be a big one day. Just hold it, right? Obviously, she sold it. But my point is that like at the time, that difference between 270 to 205 gems felt significant, right? In the moment. But then afterwards, that fucking thing went to $18,000. So whether you bought in at 205 or 270, you know, in the grand scheme of things, if it does, again, if we do get into another bull market, it might not be next year, might not be the year after, but if we do hit those places again, then maybe getting something that's really scarce, popular, like whatever, you know, if you're buying in at $3,000 or $4,000, maybe that goes to 25 to 30 grand. So you're not really seeing that much of a significant difference. That's the kind of way that I'm looking at it. But again, I could be wrong, right? Because we got to be careful too. There's a lot, like every time if we don't have another user and there's another NFT that gets dropped, that just takes away from the entire value of the ecosystem, right? So as soon as there's more drops and not users coming in, we're all trying to uphold a larger landmass of just stuff. And so the more that, you know, these NFTs just keep getting drop, and there's the same posse of people, then of course everything's just going to continue to go down. So those new users are critical. And maybe it's not even necessarily new users, but it's the engagement of the current users as well. So really driving engagement and driving new users will definitely put this project in a way better place. But again, given the current sentiments across the world and where the market's at and the war happening and all this shit is really taking away from the interest into these more prospective investments or collectibles, right? So that's just a little bit there. Aaron says there were things out of my price range last winter that I can snap up with ease right now, and nothing's changed for me. There we go, bro. Congrats on that, man. Yes, that's what I mean. So yeah, like if you're convicted, man, you can get there, you know? Justin, real boy, ATH. Yeah. I think we just got to be realistic too, right? I think some things may go to like bigger heights than we anticipated, but I also think like you've got to start thinking about stuff legitimately. I remember the time people were saying if Todd gets to $10,000 for one Todd, that would presume a $75 million market cap, and Todd went to like 14 something thousand at the all-time high, which would be like that would be like $100 million market cap, right? So you got to start thinking about that. Like, you have to start thinking, okay, there's thousands, tens of thousands of collectibles, let's just say in the future on VV. Then there's 10 to 15 other major platforms. And then you're going to say that this one NFT on VV that has 7,500 editions is going to go to $1 billion market cap, right? Like, it has to be so valuable and so grand to ever kind of get there. So I think it's just really important to make that assessment. Because I think a lot of people, when it went to 14K, they're like, oh, it's going to go to 50K, you know? So I think it's just like, just got to be smart with that stuff. Like, if you bought it for $79 and goes to $50,000, I mean, geez, like, take your money, guys, you know? Cool. Mr. Charlie says, or just announce that they're releasing something when it's 90% complete. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, I think that's even a better strategy, Mr. Charlie. So VV should start doing things more where, like, once it actually is kind of ready to go, maybe they like surprise everyone and release it, and then it's kind of like a positive instead of them not releasing it and then saying that they were going to, right? So it's better to you know, under promise and over deliver than to do the opposite. Ian Len says, one moon again. I need it. It's going to be a while, I think, my friend. The only thing that's going to make this moon is if Pokemon comes in. And if Pokemon comes in, I kid you not, the whole world will be here. I think Logan Paul, all these guys are going to go crazy. Whoever has that first is gonna win the day. VV Dark Link says that was a 70 gem loss, and it was significant back then because we had to wait like 2 to 3 weeks for the next drop. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, back then, man, like, you know, like losing a few $100 was way more significant than it was in the peak. Like, it was just crazy seeing the amount of people that had like just like $30,000, $40,000 worth of gems just playing around with it. Like, I was saying to people, you're like selling cars on the daily, you know? It was just crazy. I was like, oh, let me sell this for 23 grand, buy that for 18, sell that for 15. Like, it was a crazy time. Like, yeah. Tamara Hannah, have all the golden moments except partners, saving now for that potential of having the entire series. Good for you. That's what it's all about. It's about collecting. It's about for yourself. And, you know, that's a pretty impressive accomplishment. And I think, you know, there's only going to be so many people that can say like they've had all the first Disney golden moment NFTs, you know, from one of the biggest industries in the entire world. So it's a pretty impressive feat, to say the least, right? Yeah. So, you know, I guess there's kind of ran through all the questions, which is good. I usually it takes me a little longer, but this is great. Yeah, so I think like my take right now is, you know, just kind of like what my title implied as well was, you know, what are we doing here? Are we waiting it out? Are we, you know, what are we collecting? I think the biggest thing that I'm doing is I'm just being really calculated with dollar cost averaging. So I'm only putting a little bit of money into NFTs. I'm not chasing things. If it goes out of my price range, the way that I look at it is something else will drop in the future. This thing might go down a little bit. There's always another better time to buy in. So, you know, unless I really think something's going to fly, I'm not necessarily buying in right away, because we see the general, like the same thing happens almost every time right now in the secondary. A drop will happen. There won't be enough delivered into the aftermarket. So then all of a sudden it gets inflated. People will buy in high. And then all of a sudden, after like 30 minutes, it starts going low. And then after 2 to 3 days, it starts going down to the price that you should buy in at, which is like significantly cheaper for the most part. I mean, Miles Morales, let's look at the SR. It started off at like 7 to 12K. Then it went down to like 3.5. Then it kind of stabilized from like 4.1 to 5. And now it's kind of back down to like 3.5, right? So, yeah. Wow, Justin says, I believe 4 secret rare Peter Parkers sold in the last 24 hours. That's crazy. Let me check that out right now. That's wild, man. Yeah, it's a good one. I mean, people probably just saw like how popular like Miles Morales is, and they're like, damn, or maybe a lot of people were selling them at a good price. I don't know. I'm wondering why that might have been significant for them. Let's see what the floor is actually. Does anybody know what the floor is right now for a Spider-Man? But see, like even like the search function, sometimes I find it's not like that fast. And so I get like why a lot of people are complaining. They're like, let's like upgrade this system here a little bit, you know? It's actually crazy. Like back in the day when you go through like all this stuff, like there's so many brands now. Like when we were starting this, there's like 5 brands that you can choose from. Sometimes just like a few. And now I'm like going through this, like it's just insane. There we go. Okay. Also, like look at Doc Ock. Remember when Doc Ock landed? The secret rare now is $113 from like 200. Even the Mysterio, $61 for the ultra rare. That's insane. And the drop was 50 gems. That's wild. All right, I'm looking at SR Spidey. So yeah, right now it's pretty nice edition too at the floor. 284 is the edition number, and it goes for 8.4K from CB1. That's the name of it. So not bad. SR Spidey, man. Yeah, definitely went down big time. It's crazy. It's crazy. 100,000, 90% reduction. But yeah, guys, thanks so much for tuning in. I think I answered everybody's questions. Oh, Tamara says you are Vader under 800 bucks. Damn. Yeah, that's crazy. Yeah, but just wanted to do this quick stream just to, just kind of talk to everybody, see what you're up to in the bear market, see what you're buying. I know there's a lot of different, NFTs right now, and there's a lot of saturation. So yeah, just be smart, right? Like, again, don't get too riled up right now. Don't try to chase something. Don't try to put all this money into it. Just be really calculated. Start the thing that I'm just going to say, and this is what I've learned from Pokemon, is just think about the things that are going to stand out, right? Like, if you have a Mickey Mouse and you know it's the second most popular fictional character in the world, and it's the first appearance on the blockchain, or even like Superman first appearance on the blockchain, that should hold some kind of potency. Like, that should be important, right? Like, just given the size of the IP in the world. But I think it's just always important to continue to reassess, um, and just kind of think to yourself, okay, like, long term, when there's like millions of NFTs and all this IP is getting circled around everywhere, is this going to make everything just not that important, or are there going to be a few items that really stick out? So would be my advice, is just keep looking at the big picture instead of just kind of being just within VV. Think about like what it really means on the grand scale, right? But yeah, thanks so much, guys, for tuning in. Please leave a like if you can before you take off. I'd really appreciate that. And really, really nice little chat with everybody. And yeah, hope to kind of answer more of your questions more often, and just kind of pop on just for a casual live stream like this. I've also got some merch. You can see it in my description below. Some really good prices for it. I think it's like 55 bucks Canadian or something like that, which is not too bad. And you get like a really nice like NFT Pirates logo and everything. So I'm actually just ordered my own merch as well. And then consider joining my membership. This is where you're gonna get like NFT reviews. You're gonna get like private member only live chats, things like that. So yeah, so appreciate you guys being here today. And I'll just read the last comment here. Tito2420 says, I'm one of the lucky persons who got the SR. I got mine immediately. Should have sold it at 7.5K. Tito, man, I'm jealous, man. Good for you. That's crazy. I wish my day will come. I keep holding it in there. So let's see if I get lucky one day, man. Mewtwo, thanks for the stream, Chad. Keep stacking. Yes, keep on stacking. Awesome. Take care, everybody. Have a beautiful weekend, and we'll see you soon. Take care.